I was trying to think about some things to do with teamwork that are really important, or some interesting experiences that I've had with teamwork. Um, and I just wanted to quickly ask you all, out of all of these that you see on the screen, can someone, just a few people, type in the chat what you think sounds like the most interesting to you this week? So we'll do this every week. We'll find whichever ones people think are most interesting. I could do a poll, but it's too much effort. Just type in the chat. Very funny. I'll just like wait for maybe like 5, 6 more people to. Okay, great. Okay, so um, first one, first on the list is easy. Um, how about we do? Let's do 15 next year. Next next week. We'll do 15 next week because I think that was probably the most common. All right. So, Robocup 2016. In Robocup 2016, uh, it was probably the worst year Robocup's ever done, which probably had a lot to do with me being there. But no, it's a very long story. But so UNSW has a team of students and staff members who make these robots play soccer. They run around the field, they play soccer, they kick balls, and the robots are given to you, so it's a non-hardware project, and you just have to program them. I was kind of responsible for leading this team in 2016, and in 2017, I was responsible for leading this team. But in 2016, it was a bit of a rough year where no one really joined. We didn't have many people, and no one was really leading it. So we went to the competition with 4 robots. And the way that these robots work is actually pretty straightforward. We have like a central Git repository. I think I've mentioned this before, where it's all up on GitHub. So it's like kind of a central Git repository, except this one would be private. And what you do is you push to it, and there's like commits and everything else you'd expect. And you sync them to the robot, right? So pretty straightforward. So the way it works is you're all working on this Git repository, you're all testing it, you test your work, it gets approved, you merge it in, and then before you play a soccer game, right, which is typically like, I think it's like a 30, 40 minute, I can't quite remember, it's something like 30-minute game with 2 halves, you sync this code to all the robots, right? So you pull master to your computer, and then you connect to the robots via a network, Wi-Fi or via a cable, and you basically just you sync the code to it, right? Now, there was this one match we played in 2016, and it was kind of a lesson for me. So in the team, we had 4 people. We had me, the dumb one, and then we had a guy called Kenneth who I love Kenneth. I don't know why I'm mentioning these people by name. And then we had 2 other people who were like the polar opposites. We had a guy called Dave, and we had a guy called Peter. And Peter was like your Git aficionado, like love Git in the morning, Git in the evening, everything like that. And Peter was just like super religious about Git, right? Like he's like every time you change some code, every line of code you change should theoretically be a Git commit. You cannot commit too much. Your Git commit names should be like hyper detailed. And then on the other end, you had your like Dave guy who was kind of like, let's just get code in as fast as humanly possible. Just absolutely smashing through code, just like Git add everything all the time, work on it for days and then put in these giant merge requests with like 300 files being changed. And there's no real like right or wrong there, but they were 2 very different people, and they'd get into the occasional bits of tension around that. And I think a moment when I kind of learned that Peter's kind of obsession with following processes was quite valuable was we were playing this game in 2016. We were in a city called Leipzig in Germany. It's in like the eastern half of Germany. And we're about to play this game. And, like all of these things, you're in a rush, right? Nothing's ever going to get done. There's still bugs to fix, and like other games in 30 minutes, quick, like push the code, review the code. And then just before we sync the code to the robots, Dave's like, oh god, shit, I really effed something up. oh, I need to, quickly, goes in and fixes it. Um, and then he does the command, which I since just despise, which is your git commit -am, right? Which is saying go and commit all tracked files that have been changed, right? You don't have to git add anything. It just adds them all to the git thing. So he quickly does that, then he quickly pushes it directly to master, which are like two problems in themselves. And then we sync them to the robots and we take them all onto the field. We line them up on the side of the field. And then as soon as the game starts, all of the robots just die. They all just like literally fall over and collapse basically. And we start panicking and people are like laughing and we're like trying to get a timeout and we're dragging them back to the desk and goals are just being scored against us. And it turns out that the problem was basically Dave had basically done some things. He like checked out some branches and he'd copied and pasted files across and he was doing all of this and he'd essentially just committed like freaking 60 files to like a version from a week ago or something absolutely crazy. And the reason he did that was because he was just saying commit everything without actually having a look at it. And we lost a game because of a bad git commit. And the point of the religiousness that I expressed to you around using git add, or at the very least using it until you're so ingrained in it that you like just, it's second nature, is every time you're forced to say to yourself, what files am I interested in committing? You actually have to stop and think, do I need this file committed? Because the second you get into the git commit -am command pattern, where you aren't thinking about what files you're committing, you are going to make mistakes somewhere. That's kind of the short story. Like, you think it's fine now because like your lab's like one file. You're like, oh, what am I going to commit that's wrong? But the problem is habits, like the thing about habits is they don't matter 99% of the time, right? Like habits just like, what's the point of trying to think of what a good habit is? It's like a good habit that keeps you safe. Like what's the point of head checking in a car? Checking your blind spot. 99% of the time it's going to be fine. Until that one time it's not. And then you're really going to mess something up. And how much does it really cost you to do it that 99% of the time? So Joshua asked, so I guess git add dot is just as dangerous. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. Similar kind of thing. What I would generally recommend to people is when you get status and you see all your file changes, I don't normally sit there and git add every single file, right? But what I might do is I'll look at this and I'll try and do it in chunks. And I'll give you an example. Let's say I know that I've modified all of the basics from week 1. I'll say git add week 1 basic star.py. So basically saying I'd like to add all 5 basics files. Right? And now I've added all 6. There you go. Oops. So there's like a little bit of a middle ground sometimes that happens where, you shouldn't ever try and add all the files at once. I don't think it's a great practice unless you really stop and read it. But the good thing is that using like git add dot or git add all or git commit am, these are fine commands to use, but only when you're using them like as an exception to the rule. Do you know what I mean? Because if you developed a habit of always manually adding it, then that's good because you're always going to be forced habitually to check what you're doing before you run any of these hefty commands and screw things up. What happened in the competition? Did the robots manage to get back up at all? No, they didn't get back up. No, we lost. We lost pretty bad. And Kenan says, yeah, it only adds untracked files. Git commit am only adds untracked files. Yeah, Robocup. Actually, one of the funniest ones was we ended up on. I'll just spend a few minutes. This is not obviously like a real lecture right now. This is just chatting. So I'll probably chat for another 3, maybe 4 minutes, and then we can wrap it up. So if you have to go, you can just go. because I know people leave it too. But actually, one of the funniest things was in 2017, we randomly made it onto Last Week Tonight, which was one of the funniest things. I got an email from a friend. You guys watch this show? I'm sure I can put like how do I put the desktop audio? Does this work? Oh, that's not it. Where is it? 2 seconds. Audio output capture. Oh, I think I have it muted. Okay. Oh, and that's muted too. Great. Yeah, so there was this funny thing. Yeah, they actually did some random Robocup clips. And this is actually UNSW in 2017. This is like our team here. The joke of this was that they would start commentating it in Spanish or something. This is the robots playing soccer. That's about it. It's a cool team. I don't really know what they're doing these days. This is us losing a goal. Hey, getting our asses whooped. Huh? So that was, that's kind of the stuff you're doing. And, I think this is important because, a lot of you are going to come out of here and you're not going to be writing Python scripts for laboratories anymore. Like, you might be working at SpaceX. You might be working on some physical things. You might be working on software that when it breaks, bad things happen. So, good habits are really, really helpful to, I'm not logged into YouTube, thankfully, because I don't want you to see my recommendeds. But yeah, good habits are really important to set early on, which is really good. I think there was one funny clip. See if I can find it. Last one. I think this might have been our last match, so I'll see if it's the one. Oh God. Maybe not. But there was one last funny thing that the robot did, which was this it? I don't know. Sometimes they fall over. Let's not go into this because it'll be a waste of time. But anyway, you should go check out Robocup on campus. They do cool stuff. If you want to learn more about programming and whatever, and you want to volunteer your time, and you want an excuse to go into campus, I'm sure they still do stuff. So they're a cool group to check out. That's about all for today. Anyway, thanks everyone. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow where we'll go through some really important stuff about testing. Learn about verification and validation and everything else.